Here's some basic algebra problems from the ACT practice test. And you'd see some similar to this on the actual ACT test. Here's the first one. What is the value of x minus y squared, quantity squared, when x is 5 and y is -1? Well, this problem is simply a matter of substituting in the values. So substitute in, and you'd have 5 minus -1 squared. Now, right there is where they probably expect you to make a mistake. So they probably expect you to say 5 minus 1 squared, which would be 4 squared, which would be 16. But this instead, since minus minus, or negative negative, is then 5 plus 1 quantity squared, which is 36, and that's the answer that you want. A couple of ways to look at this problem, which is equivalent to 4x squared, that quantity cubed, and they give you these possible answers. One way to look at it would be to go 4x squared times 4x squared times 4x squared, which would then, by using our commutative property, would be 4 times 4 times 4 times x squared times x squared times x squared, which of course would be 64, since 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64, and then x to the 6th. So we're going to have letter B. Now, you could have also split up these components, these factors, and made them cubed. So I'd have 4 cubed, x squared cubed, and 4 cubed, 64. And then when you have a power of a power, you multiply those exponents. So it's x to the 2 times 3, or again, we get 64, x to the 6th. So in this simplified problem, they're really only asking you to distribute the numbers in front and then add the like terms. The negative is set in here again to trick you. Obviously, this is pretty easy. 2 times 4x plus 2 times 7, which would be 8x plus 14. Here's where the trick is. So many people will forget about this negative, or maybe get it the first time and get negative 6x, but then forget about here and end up with negative 12. But negative 3 times negative 4 is positive 12. So then we have negative minus 6x plus 12. So we have 2x, putting the 8x and the negative 6x together. 14 and 12 is 26. So always be careful when you distribute in a situation like this and you have a negative in front of it. Basically, take the negative with you. Here's a problem that you can do a number of ways, or really 2 ways that I would suggest. And one would be by using algebra. And when we use algebra, we're simply writing sentences, mathematical sentences, for these statements. The sum of x and y is 11, so that's x plus y equals 11, obviously. Their difference is 5. Difference is 5. So that would be x minus y equals 5. And notice when I take these two and add those two equations together, I get 2x equals 16. Divide the 2 out, I get x equals 8. Then y would have to be 3. So xy equals 24. Now you could have also done this just by a think about method. And you could have gone, okay, I'm going to go 11s. So I'll go 11 plus 0, 10 plus 1, 9 plus 2, 8 plus 3, 7 plus 4, 6 plus 5, and then so forth. Now we're getting repeats. And we have to ask ourselves, where is the difference? Where is the difference? 5, right there. So my two numbers are 8 and 3. 8 times 3 is 24. On this problem, I always prefer the clear the fractions method. And when you clear the fractions, you simply multiply both sides of the equation by the common denominator. And when you do that, you can see 12 goes into here, so I get 12 thirds k, which is 4k. 12 goes in here, I get 12 fourths k, which is 3k. And 1 times 12 is 12, so I have 7k equals 12. K equals 12 sevenths. And we're done. So this is the old Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A pretty easy example of that. So easy formula to remember. So try to remember that for your test. And A, B are the legs, and C is the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is opposite the right angle. So 6 and 7 feet, we're going to have 6 squared plus 7 squared equals c squared. So we'll have 36 plus 49 equals c squared. So c squared equals 85. Therefore, c equals the square root of 85. And you're done. Okay, now on this problem, where it says which is the factored form of 5x squared minus 13x minus 6, well, I suppose you could take the time and factor it and find out what it is. And you know you'd have to have 5x and x, because these two have to multiply to the top term. And then it's either going to be 1 and 6, or 6 and 1, and 2 and 3, or 3 and 2, and then different combinations of plus or minus on each one. So you're going to have to figure that one out. Or you could simply FOIL each of these until you get this answer up here, this question, the trinomial in the question. Here you'd have x times 5x is 5x squared. And here you'd have negative 15x and positive 2x, which would be negative 13x. Okay, right away I can see I'm getting there, and negative 3 times, there you go. So A is your answer. Now you could check a few more of them just to make sure. But you can see, like right here, negative 2 times negative 3 is a plus 6. Okay, that can't be it. X, this looks like it could be right too, but in the middle terms, negative 10x plus 3x makes that middle term negative 7x plus 6 and 5x squared. So that one can't be right. And this one right here, it looks like it's the same thing, except, just a minute. On this problem, first of all, you have to think, what does it mean by greatest common factors? Well, factors are numbers that go into numbers evenly. So obviously this number and this number both have an x in them. That's whatever number x is, that's in both of those numbers. So right away you can cross this one out and this one out. So it has to be one of these. Well, you can cross this one out because both of these numbers are even numbers, so they must at least have a 2x in them. So then we could try 12. 12 goes into 216 one time, 12, 96, 8. So that one works. So 12x goes into 216. So 12x would work. And then take the 12 into the 180. 12 goes into 18. 12 times 60 and 5. So there 12 would go. So that would work. Now you could look at 36 too and ask the same question. Does 36 go into 216? And you could try that and say, okay, well, 6 and carry 3, and we've got 21. So that works. Does 36 go into 180? Try that. 5 and 5 times 6 is 30, 18. So this is greater. So then this would be your number right there. Now, you could have done all of this by going back and figuring out the greatest common factor also. And I'll show you that. How could we do that? Well, take your 216 and break it down. Take your 180 and break it down. Well, 216, let's see, it'd be 1 and 10, or I'm sorry, 2 and 108, 2 and 54, 2 and 27, 3 and 9, and 3 and 3. So then we've got 216 is 2 cubed times 3 cubed. And 180, I could go 10 and 18, and 2 and 5, and this would be 2 and 3 and 3. So I've got 2 squared, 3 squared times 5. So 2 squared, 3 squared would be our common, would be the factors that are in both of these. So 4 times 9 is 36, and there's our 36, 36x. But really, dividing it out, just eliminating what you don't know, what you know can't work, or doesn't work enough, and just trying the last two numbers, dividing, works pretty well.